All right, this is episode 30 of the Crom Updates. I am Kurt Brugel, and I am joined with one of my guest artists for the Crom Collected that I brought in to do a variant cover, a pinup. They're his version of Crom, Adam Dodds. Adam, how are you doing this fine Saturday morning?
Hey, Kurt. I'm doing pretty good. I got a couple cups of coffee in me, so I'm ready to roll.
I'm on my second. So the thing is, this is pretty fortuitous. As you know, I emailed you, or no, we were bouncing back and forth on Instagram, and you had gotten your copy of the Virgin cover version, your artwork on Crom Collected, and I haven't gotten mine. So uh, on the left side of your camera, me looking in, I see your cover on the Crom Collected. Would you like to tease out that? Most importantly, me, because I haven't even seen
Yeah.
it yet. So this is great. Before you get started, though,
Yeah.
I just want everybody to know. I really researched for a long while 5 artists that I wanted to collaborate with. Now, this is entirely Adam's work, but he does. It's on his Instagram. I'll put a link below. Hashtag Doodly Gobbledygook. And I had been following him for months, and I took a chance and reached out to him, and he took a chance, agreed to come on. So I am so excited to see your cover on the collection. How do you feel about it?
It's just been a very delightful. Delightful is the word I would use.
Oh, okay,
Open
cool.
that cardboard box and seeing my image on the cover. It's great. I'm excited, man.
Good, good.
I when I posted the you know on Instagram about receiving it. It's like, I'm not only am I excited to like have my work in print, but just being alongside the other really talented guys in the book is just a real treat.
Yeah, and there were 2 reasons I wanted to bring in the 5 of you guys. One was to keep me on point because there's nothing worse than inviting somebody to a party and not throwing the party.
Right.
But the creative personal challenge, I wanted to meet with my own work towards what I saw aspect wise within your guys' work. Your mark making in inking and the arrangement and the order of chaos you bring really is very, very exciting, and it's a great thing for me to get when I'm doom scrolling, Instagram, when I shouldn't be. But when I come across one of your doodly gobbledygooks, I jump off and I get to work. So, could you pick that up and kind of bring it towards the camera just a little bit?
Yeah.
Just, yeah, that's great. Oh, that's
Um,
great. Wow.
there we go.
Oh,
So
wow. That's great. Great. Oh, can I see the back?
back of the book.
Yeah, yes, please. Great. Great. Look at that QR code. Nice.
Yeah,
And
looks
it's got
great.
that matte finish in it and everything. Have you had a chance to crack it open and
Oh
flip
yeah.
through?
So this morning I actually I flipped through it a little bit, but this morning I did a little comparison to the first edition of the book, just to see if I saw any notes worth mentioning, and I found
Right.
something conversation worthy. But I love the book. I love something that I did notice when I was comparing the two is they're both on newsprint and
Yes.
but this newer version is kind of like a little more of a yellowy kind of paper.
Cream color.
Yeah, it's like it kind of inherently gives it that it's not trying to be patinaed,
Do me a
but
favor. do you a favor, just crack it open randomly. Let's just see inside real quick.
Okay. Let me just
right like there. That's great. Right there is great.
widen this out.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, sorry. Hang on.
No, it's all right. It's all right.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, because the other thing I did was I put a screen of newsprint behind each of the pages, the images on those pages. So there's a bit of graininess. I think it's about a 10 or 10%, 10 or 20% opacity of a newsprint, and then went for the cream color paper to give that yellowing. So you're digging it?
I mean, I just happened to fall on this page and I wanted to comment.
Yeah.
This, is a lovely silhouette.
Wow.
Like
thank you.
It's just very glowy. Like compared to the original illustration, it's like glowing.
Oh, it works.
Yeah, totally.
It works. Yeah. Oh boy, I can't wait to sit down with not only you but the other guys and really go through it, and of course, get this into the hands of the public. Those who are watching us here on Crom Updates, following us through the cromthebarbarian.com blog, which I put up every week on a Tuesday.
Here,
but
just
yeah,
change this up a little bit to make it a little more
that's great.
page turner friendly.
Yeah. Go to your there's Jason's. That's great. Okay. Yeah. So I did a close up. I also wanted to kind of get a nice, decent close up of your work, like in that abstract kind of thing where people could kind of like really see it. So that really works nice.
I mean that scan file was gigantic, so that should have been pretty easy to accomplish, I think.
Yes, shout out, and I have to thank him.
Shout out to Peel Gallery in Carborough for hooking me up with the scanning duties.
Awesome. All right. Yes, there's Ken Landgraf and
Drawn Sword is just
boy,
it's lovely.
Man.
It's great.
Oh man, and then David Molina. Oh yeah. Oh my!
I haven't delved into this yet, but I'm excited to read it.
Right. Do me a favor, close it. I can't look anymore. I can't. I'm supposed to be getting my copies today. They come in UPS, and of course, I got a notification. I think when I was talking to you, and through Instagram, and then it said 7 o'clock Friday night. So that's why I said, yeah, let's get together because we can then go over it. But but better yet, no, it's okay. And better yet, I've been wanting to really catch up with you. I know you have been doing a lot of non-art related work, to keep a roof over your head and food in your belly. And but you have been working on some new exciting stuff. I would love for you to share what you'd like to share.
Yeah, absolutely. So, first off is like an actual commissioned piece. This here portrait right here.
Oh, wow. Oh, my.
One of the ladies that I work with in catering, she actually works at the college here in Chapel Hill, UNC, and in the pharmacy department. And one of her students graduated, so she commissioned me a portrait to do for a graduation.
Whoa. That is fantastic.
She gave me like 3 pictures to choose from, and this was the most she was the most photogenic in this picture anyway, but it just so happened to have this wild shirt that was definitely, it ends up kind of being the star of the show. Like I've given it to her, and she has since, like I told her off the on the front end, it's like the likeness isn't quite there, and she's like, yeah, if you could just work on it. So it's back in my possession to just work a little bit on the likeness, but I'm pretty proud of it all the same. Even in its current state, because that shirt is just like it sings. and
Yes, it
I'm
does.
very
It
pleased because it
it's
was tedious
it's
to say the least.
it sings doodly gobbledygook.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
It's a great. Oh, that's great. When commissions come along and they want you to be you, you can't beat it.
Right.
You just can't beat it. You know.
And this is my most recently posted doodly gobbledygook,
Yes. Oh
and
wow.
it's
Yes.
just
I love it.
this one is very. It's not my favorite piece that I've done, but there was something gratifying about like feeling like, wow, I've made something that feels grotesque, right? It's not the gross, it's like it's abstract, but it still kind of reads as like gross in some way.
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, it was definitely in the state of your consciousness over the last months or so, or so, just for
Right,
you
right.
know
Being out of the game
so
a little bit.
it seeps out. It wants to get out, which is healthy. Get it out on paper.
Here's
Don't
one that
keep it
I'm
inside. Wow.
almost done with. Um,
Wow.
this one,
Is that white predominant white shape getting any attention, or and if
this
so,
right
how
here.
much?
Well,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, this is the piece that I have the past like 3 or 4 times that I've worked on this piece. It's like I'm meditating on this piece, like trying to be like, what needs to go there? Does it need to be white?
Right,
Does it need
right.
something?
Wow,
And I just can't
wow.
haven't gotten there yet. I just haven't like
Yeah.
pulled the trigger. So yes, that is the mystery. Is like what is gonna happen here. Um, but yeah, outside of that, it's just like
It's I will say this only from my side of the camera. When it came on, my initial reaction was erase everything inside of it, and it's only because it's that contradiction of that white shape being so high above the horizon line, if you will, the middle
uh-huh.
of the page,
Right.
and then that severe angle you have then coming out from that, that runs from mid left to no, the other one
Oh,
that's running almost horizontal. So mid left it's going to be, like I said, okay, it'll be on my side, it'll be mid right to then almost to the bottom left.
oh, okay, yeah.
That
So
harsh, yes,
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
harsh kind of like, it's just that cutting into that plane. But, and I always say this to not say, oh, and then you're done. It's just then what in my critical mind in making those kinds of decisions meditatively, um, you know, does something really need to be in there, or you know, whatever does go in there, does it have to be almost like contradicting? But that's just like I said, that's just my
No,
reaction to it.
absolutely. I
Yeah,
mean,
you.
like I added these marks like fairly recently, and
Uh huh.
part of the meditation here has been like, maybe it looks good with just blank white, and then
Yeah.
the longer you sit with it, you're like, maybe I should try to do something. But yeah, I kind of agree with you because there is something pleasing about this, like
Void.
white void.
I love it. But it's a very hard thing to do compositionally, I think, with white when you heavily render something, because majority of the time people complain that you've not finished the drawing.
Right.
Like that's their like an amateur approach to it. But if it's solid, which I think you're getting close to it, people accept it. They just accept it as a major part of the composition, if not a major part of the focus.
Well, there's a um, what was it? Cartoonist kayfabe where they went over Alan Moore's 1963, and
Yeah,
one of the issues, was it was their Spider-Man style issue, and the one of the villains was like I forget his name, but that was the gimmick, right? Is he was a void, and he was just pure white, a silhouetted figure, but in pure white.
It's tough to do.
Yep.
It's tough to
Yep.
do on many levels. But I think you're really close to it. Really close to it.
Here's something a little more like a traditional style that I've done recently.
Right.
Oh, and so I mentioned on off camera that I am working on um, a what may end up being a T-shirt design for that's was inspired by this upcoming election. Uh,
Hmm.
in the
Do
old
share.
America. Well, I had this feeling, and I, in all honesty, I don't know if this feeling will last, but I do. The sentiment of the feeling, I still kind of adhere to, which is to say
Right.
that in the past week or so, like I saw like several people post that was like pro Biden, being like, hey, we can't let Trump be in office. We gotta get our guy back in. And it just made me think like, you know I think most people are like feeling the pinch of like
I don't know
inflation.
how anybody can't.
Right.
I don't know I don't know how anybody can't feel the pinch of the whole thing.
Right.
Put it
And
like that.
there's while and not to say that to say nothing of the fact that like our participation in global affairs is complicated to say the least.
Right.
Um, I to say that like Biden is somehow like a better option. I it's hard to parse the morality involved in both of these figures. So all that to say is like in an effort to kind of like be like what uh, uh, both of these guys suck. I started a this design, and it's a parody. Let me see if you
Oh.
can recognize. It's an album cover. I don't know if I have any notes
No,
relevant to
yeah,
what
no,
it
no,
is. What?
no.
So,
Give me a second. I don't know why I keep thinking Led Zeppelin, but I don't.
when I asked someone else to guess, that's what they said too. But
Yeah,
uh,
I don't know
it
what.
has that old school classical imagery style, so I could see that. But
Right,
it's a little
right.
later. It's 80s, maybe early 90s. I can't remember. But Guns N' Roses,
Are you kidding me?
Use Your Illusion is the album.
Whoa! I'm gonna flash that up on the screen.
Oh yeah, okay.
No, but keep going. I'll do it in
Yeah,
post.
yeah, yeah. So the the uh, the two figures are going to be like that's going to be Trump. You can see I kind of already tried to make it Trumpish. This is going to be Biden, and along the side where the text usually says "Guns N' Roses, use your illusion," it's going to say "Choose your delusion." Uh,
Ah!
so I basically this week I've gone to the printer to print out the album cover at a bigger size so that it's very precise imagery, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna try and make it you know exactly like the illustration or if I'll make it a little more stylized. But all that to say is like basically gonna trace the image off, do some due diligence on making these heads look like who they're supposed to be, and
Yeah,
then
caricatures.
right, and do some photoshopping to get all the colors and all that stuff right, and that's the how do you say the rough plan at this point.
Wow. So the thing I'd like to add to what you're doing
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've heard some people on YouTube and Instagram, and when I say people, I mean really creatives that I respect. And we're artists, no matter what we do during the day or night in order to bring money into a bank account. We are creatives that are constantly operating on that level. And one of our Sterling Hurdley had just did an Instagram about another topic. It was about an art school in Philly called U Arts closing. Um, our responsibility as creatives is to bring order to chaos. It's not to solve people's problems. It's not to bring solace to the world. It's not to heal. I hear so many times. That's the individual's responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
But when somebody does something like what you're doing right now, and if you were to, like, you would mention off camera, like maybe putting it out as a T-shirt or something, there's a connection now you're making with inside the chaos. And I tell you, Adam, my biggest concern right now, and I'm really hypersensitive about it, is really truly how people feel about what's going on right now. Not only about elections, but inflation and having money and not having money, or
Mm-hmm.
living your true self, or just these certain things. And if you're an artist like you are, and you're expressing some anxiousness, stress, these types of things, I always say the same thing. The prescription is draw it. Get the pen and paper out
Right.
and start drawing it. Do not, and this is what Sterling had said, stop trying to make product. Stop trying to entertain.
Yes.
You use it to your satisfaction. Help you release the anxiousness and the stress that's going on. And I just have to applaud you because I can't see too much detail in the caricatures,
Mm-hmm.
but already I see the original. And by the way, I do remember that album cover, so it was just deep into my subconscious because I spent most of my time in the industrial goth scene.
Oh,
So,
hell yeah.
but other than those caricatures and a play on the color, which could only be like what you have there is red on a yellow T-shirt.
Right. Uh
You're like, this is singing.
huh.
Love it.
Yeah, dude. It's interesting you kind of bring up the idea of like entertainment, right? And like how a lot of the content that we see on Instagram, see on YouTube, like it is entertainment, right?
It's
And
trying its best to entertain you.
right, and that's kind of like that's the struggle. Is like whereas I think that this is not some new information. I think this is conducive to everyone's experience. It's like even though the internet is still filled with lots of information, the ability for us to make the internet useful to us is harder, right?
Very good point.
A-
Very good point.
and that coupled with the fact that like so much of the quote unquote entertainment that we're that it's algorithmically fed to us, it's not like there's lack of value. Some of it even is artistic, but it's like it blurs that line of like, you know, there's a place for entertainment, right? Yeah, you sit down on your couch on Friday night and you watch a movie or whatever, right? Like there is a place for entertainment and a place for art. I'm not saying they should be divided and separate, but I am saying like having them blurred kind of puts us in this funny place of like you know your reaction to an actual art piece when you're in a museum versus like seeing something on Instagram. It's just different. Does that make sense? I don't know what point I'm trying to
No,
make
you are.
with that, but
No. Let me jump on board with that. So I have been struggling with YouTube specifically because my day ends at about 3:30, in between 3:30 4 o'clock, where my wife and I will then watch some TV together. So we usually pick a program we figure we both enjoy, and for about 2 hours or so we watch some television, and then it's like 6:30, and so then I'm kind of stuck there. Let's say. Uh, um, having completed my day, but then I start going through. I have two YouTube channels I use through Roku, which are pretty screwed up now. And what I mean by screwed up is the algorithms just keep trying to feed me, what I would refer to as like bullshit. It's not stuff that I predominantly look at.
right.
So what I have to do is I usually end up researching during the day, coming up with things. Last night I did it on purpose, and long time ago, early 2000s, I had come across, there was a program called The Eye, and it was they were like Art 21. Are you familiar with the Art 21 series?
Oh yeah, for sure.
This I think was even somewhere around or preceding it, but they had done a segment on an artist who was he didn't know he was going to be passing anytime soon, but he ended up passing later. But he was from Cornwall, and his name was Carl Vashke. And I'm going to show a couple of images. Well, I go on YouTube, and the only thing up there was a professor's 45-minute dissertation on his 400-page plus master's thesis on this artist. And let me tell you, this is not the first time I've done this, but it's what I've been doing a lot more than just watching nonsense or allowing nonsense to be subjecting me to be watched. I've been watching lectures, art lectures. Now, the thing has happened where I've also been getting like a lot of them are not very well produced. So it's, you're just really staring at a guy at a podium or a woman at a podium.
Right.
A couple times there will be some slides, but I also have a drawing table in my living room that faces the television. So I've been just jumping back up there, jumping back to it, and then just grabbing a ballpoint pen and a piece of paper and scribbling thoughts and even ideas or just, releasing stress and tension and anxiety about what's going on. But what I'm jumping on to is, we as individuals need to make these decisions. I heard years ago from a motivational speaker. I'm talking years ago, 15 years ago, and he said he did it much more elaborately. But I'll just give the really thing. He basically started asking you to break down your day. How many hours a night do you sleep out of 24? How many meals you eat? How long are your work shifts? How much time do you spend your wife and kid? And And the average time of free time, believe it or not, per day could be anywhere from an hour to 2 hours.
Right.
Then the question went to, well, what do you do? What are some of the things that people raising hands? Oh, I watch Netflix. Oh, I like playing video games. So on and so forth. But then he stopped and he said, that's where you make it as a creative person. Flip that 1 to 2 hours into you being creative for you, not making entertainment, not trying to create something as an engagement post on Instagram. You're being true to yourself and creative. And I want to bring it all the way back to, and I don't have them near me, but, your doodly gobbledygook has been also part of what I kind of initiate. It's just scribbling on a piece of paper, then filling in, a shape with such, a solid and then some kind of, you know what I mean? And then just letting it go from there. So, I really, just want to make this statement, very factual about what I'm doing with the Crom update, the Crom Collected, and the follow up, which is going to be called the Crom Anthology. Um, no stress with anybody I'm working with, on myself included. The book you have, that's an artist proof,
Uh-huh.
which means you need to sign it and date it and within that the turn of that first page, because it will be I will made my adjustments and corrections into the final version, but I have been very anxious about trying to get this book out. It's supposed to be out right now. I had said that
Right. Mm-hmm.
15 episodes ago, but I'm taking on my own lecturing here, if you will. If I'm trying to rush something out because it's product driven and I need people to buy it because they need to pay me so I can get, you know what I mean? Now the cycle is completely broken from being less stressed, having less anxiety, but not allowing yourself total access to your own creative source and getting things done. It's really about this being documenting the process journey, and not only mine, but the artists that choose to engage with me on this project. And I'll tell you, I'm getting super excited about years down the road and what would come about, the feeling of this being more community driven than
Right.
product or publisher driven, because that's the thing I think people are, all myself included, you're always looking for somebody to take the majority of the responsibility. Like,
Right.
oh, that's my publisher. My publisher will figure it out. My publisher will promote the book. My publisher will sell the book. My publisher will pay me on time. My publisher now. It's completely a lie. There's no publisher out there other than if you're selling millions of books a month to
Right.
keep money in these people's pocket. You're the golden goose. They're going to do everything to keep a golden goose. But
Right.
we're not all gold. We're not all golden gooses. But the secret sauce, I feel like this Crom project is, for me, is getting people to become involved on some level,
Right.
and however it is. And right now I do have a theme, if you will, which is barbarians and post-apocalyptic, and it's fun is really what it is. Fantasy fun. It
Uh-huh.
has nothing to do with reality. So that's really the theme of not only Crom the Barbarian Collected, but then the anthology book that I've already started working on and we'll start sharing once the Collected is out there.
That's
But I just go ahead.
no, I was just going to comment. I haven't read, there are pieces in here that I see where you're basically, putting those thoughts right out as far as like making this a community project. I haven't read those pieces yet, but just
Right.
in like our conversing, like that is like, aside from, just being involved with other cool artists, like that is the aspect that is probably most appealing to me, is like making this like,
Good.
not some like star maker kind of like,
Yeah.
project, but like an actual, coming together of many minds to make something.
Yeah. And those other artists are David Molina,
Uh-huh. Great piece.
Jason Schoonover,
Totally badass.
Drawn Sword, and you teased the heck out of that Ken Landgraf.
Yep. Yep.
Other than yourself, already these 6 books, because my cover is this one. Where
Oh, nice. Yep.
it's going to be a lot more about. It's going to be a lot more about people coming across and finding us. Because the thing I am going to be doing is really trying to find places to engage other communities, smaller communities, and send them a complimentary copy, and then get them to either be on here, or I can go on their YouTube channel or what have you, and really start trickulating people over into, a collective. And, the thing though, I don't ever want to go away, because, you're holding right now a copy of my art.
Uh-huh.
That's my art. This is not my art. This is
Right.
the drawing I did in order to perform a cover for my art, and it was just my version. And so when I have you back on, Adam, you'll have, hopefully enough time to really go through and pick apart, if you will, feedback, questions about the whole package, Crom Collected, because I want you to be just as proud as I am to have your art on the cover of my art,
I
in
mean,
that sense. So it's a very important thing for me to have that in feeling amongst us.
absolutely. I will go ahead and say, like, like, the art upgrade is like very delightful, right? Like, and compare it, like, I didn't think this at the time when I was looking at the old book, but like when you compare it to the new book, it's just like, that almost looks like the sketchbook version of what this
Yeah, it
ultimately
is.
is.
Yep,
And,
yep, yep,
this is just, just lots of spotted blacks. And,
yep.
one thing I will like, one piece that I was like, put a little bit of thought into being like, oh, I wonder why you did that. And I don't know that this is why you did that, but in my own mind, as like, I don't know that I would say that, like, it was just basically an orientation thing, which is
Right,
to say, the one story that, like, where, you know, in the previous edition, like, it starts here, right?
right,
This
right,
starts here. And I was like, well, for starters, this is almost like a cover thing anyway, right? So like
right.
in that I get that rationale, but the one like bit of storytelling where I was like, oh, okay, like, is there any like part to the story where like the page turn in the new version is superior to the old version, and the one piece is like right here, right? So like
Oh yeah,
we have
yeah.
this like dead looking Crom, right?
Right,
And then page turn, oh, he wakes up, right?
right,
So
right,
it's a
right.
minor thing, but also I was just like curious, like, was it anything storytelling, page count like related as far as like changing the
Page count.
orientation, page count? you know, I wasn't above thinking that that was probably the case, but at the same time, I was like curious, like, is there a storytelling like, s- you
But
know,
thank you.
situation? Yeah.
Thank you for teasing that out. Both this and what you just gave a teaser to, because exactly what you performed is what I'm going to expect from all the guest artists in that, because it makes I love critiques. I love them. I love the brutality that they can give you in a feeling
Uh
and
huh.
make you second guess. But if it's a solid decision, if I made solid decisions in there, they will hold against any kind of, let's say, heavy-handed, vicious attacks, if you will.
Right.
When people think about critiques. I mean, I remember from art school, and I also too, shamefully, had people cry in how brutal of attacks I had made on some people's work.
Uh huh.
But I never cried per se in a critique, but there were times where I had left and for days felt devastated. But the turnaround I made was when I went back to my drawing board, my easel, my thoughts in thing. I sharpened them. I sharpened those thoughts and the processes and everything. And I was also, just like the community that I've started with, the guest artists and yourself included, was surrounded by individuals that they knew they had to be critical, but they also knew that they were going to stand by me and encourage.
Right.
So
Uh huh.
it's when people think about it, You know, and I have too, you know, like the releasing product, let's say, mentality. It was always to wait for people to, you know, make a comment or send you a glorious email or an email saying, why the did you do that? You know, this is stupid, you know, that kind of. But when you don't get any of that, then
Yeah.
that's a really, really hard thing to take, you know, when your sales aren't there and that kind of stuff.
I
But
mean,
with that being said, I also want to, you know, you brought this up. This is like a sketchbook, and you can
uh-huh.
see how small it is in comparison to this is 6 by 9. That's 11, 8.5 by 11. This book is only going to be available till the day I then launch the book you have in front of you. You know, there. So if you're interested, there'll be a link below where you can then get a copy of this and have it as a companion, if you will,
Right.
to the Crom Collected, and me as the instigator of the Crom Update community and anthology and such. But that's really all I have for today. Adam, do you have anything else you'd like to share before we get going?
Um, do I have anything? Oh, I was just gonna, you know, I gotten these out just to kind of be time fillers, but I'll go ahead and share.
Please.
What I've been reading. Well, I've actually been reading this because I finally got a copy and I like it.
Yeah,
I like it so far.
yeah.
It's fantastic.
Oh man.
And inspired by one of the last kayfabe videos, I ended up getting this too.
Wow.
Chris Ware
Wow.
sketchbook, and
Yeah.
it's so good. I mean,
Jeez. It's almost like, why does he waste his time with the other stuff?
right, right,
Just keep making this stuff.
exactly. It's funny you say that. I did. A friend of mine has one of the Acme libraries that he let me borrow, and
Right.
it is fine. It's for one, it's so small. It's like I almost wish it was bigger, but
Right.
there is something like almost too simplified about his like
I agree.
polished work. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think it's bad necessarily. I'm just saying like maybe it's a little too polished for me. I haven't started reading this, but I picked this up recently. Apparently, this artist was in heavy metal hurlant back in the day. So, kind of excited to kind of check that out. Have you heard of her?
No, I have not. I have not. I'll definitely do some research on her. That sounds
What
cool.
about you? Well, have you read anything that's floating your boat?
Oh gosh, I have. Oh man, let me. So, I'm gonna do a what it's called a. It's gonna be my Florida haul on on the Turbo Pit Fighter channel with Jake. Jake was down in Daytona or something like that a couple weeks back, so he bought a bunch of comics. And so I was just down in a beach near me in Wilmington, in Delaware, Bethany Beach, and there's a comic book shop down there called Comics and Games. And the gentleman down there, Thomas, I ended up finding a long box deep underneath the table and asked him, because of my old knees, if he could clear a spot somewhere for me to go through the table, through the long box. And he's like, absolutely. And I have a second one in the back. So I ended up getting a whole bunch of great, just black
Oh
and
yeah.
white. These are all 80s,
Uh huh.
maybe a little bit of 90s. I'm going to do a little deeper uh, dive into what I got from there. I got 18 of them, but I ended up talking to Chris Chelani, and we just got to nerding out, basically same age, knew some people, and of course, this is actually really, really good. I'm going to
Oh
do a
yeah.
cartoon,
Cool.
a comics that influence episode just on this. So
Nice.
Chris has been writing comics since he was 16 years old, and publishing This is Azure Press, and so Tom Cellini, and oh my God, I mean, you know, my wife was with me. God bless her. She made it all the way through, but absolutely, and this just some great stuff. His most recent is Ranger,
Uh-huh.
fully kickstarted. Obviously the subject matter is something that is close to him. It looks really real, true graphic novel. But
Uh-huh.
I shared a little bit about the Turbo Pit Fighter and the Crom the Barbarian, and being a B movie junkie. Crappier the better. That he pulls this out and goes, well, I also wrote the script to Ninjas versus Zombies. And it was turned into a video, one of those VHS tape, or DVDs or what have you.
That's
and
awesome.
and so it was just great. And when you end up buying or getting a hold of a stack, the thing that you have to do is make time. And going back to earlier, what I was saying about feeling like YouTube was sucking the life out of me, wasting my time. This is the stack that I've been slowly going through,
Awesome.
as well.
Looks like great stuff.
Yeah. I mean, you just can't go wrong, in my opinion, on bad comics.
I
People
feel
when
like
people go
that's
ahead.
my one complaint about the area where I live in Chapel Hill is like their back issue offerings are just piss poor at best, right? It's just
So he told me that those two boxes came in from a guy who had a church member pass away. He was a pastor, and that
oh
church
awesome.
member passed. The church member passed away, and he thought he could get a bunch of money for them because he thought that there were, and he actually there were, but there were also just like Tom thought that they were just inappropriate to have, because the pastor was like, "Oh, I'm just going to stick them in the kids' room and let them go through it." He's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa!
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't throw comic books around in front of children anymore, no matter what you think they are."
Right,
Spider-Man
right.
too, right? And so that he ended up finding some that were of value and paid the value for those comics for obviously a donation towards the church. But the guy was just like, "Well, give me whatever you can for the rest of them." So, and I was the first one. I think these were about 6 months he had them. He had them on his hands, and he was like, and I said, "Yeah, it got you to want to talk to me or find out more." He's like, "Yeah." So we've been going back and chatting, and I need to finish or Jake and I need to finish our turbo teaser, which Jake has to make some final touches, hopefully over this week and next week. I've got to get my Crom the Barbarian collected, revised 2024 edition, out there. And of course, then, I'll be getting into people's hands, maybe even to some comic book stores. Who knows? So, all
Nice.
exciting stuff. All exciting stuff. So,
Good times, man.
absolutely. Well, Adam, I thank you once again for taking the time and jumping on. I really do enjoy talking with you. But more importantly, I love your work. So I look forward every time to seeing Googly Gobbledygook, Doodly Gobbledygook, and I also am looking forward to us sitting down and talking about the Crom revised edition. And also, if you have anything that you would like to contribute to the upcoming Crom Anthology. So, like I said, no pressure. This is all just good old fashioned hanging out like two guys do when it comes to comic books.
Oh, totally. I mean, I'll go ahead and say that it was probably sometime last week where it kind of came back into my consciousness about like, oh yeah, there's going to be more to this project. Maybe I'll put some creative energies towards like thinking about the next thing,
I'd love to
which I
see.
haven't done yet. But
It's okay.
now it's on my purview at least.
It's okay. Good, good, good. All right, then we'll let you go. We'll let these people get back to reading comics, making them if they choose.
Thanks again, Kurt.
Oh,
Book
you're
looks
welcome,
great.
Adam. Yep, yep. We'll see ya.
Bye.